Welcome to the show, Kelly. I'm really excited to have you on. I did this pretty incredible shamanic retreat or a retreat with a shaman. I guess I could call that a shamanic retreat.
Huh?
But
For
one of
sure.
the people that I met there that was doing a Temescal ceremony for us was deep in dream work. After his father died, he was determined to meet his father in dreams and had all of these different rituals he was doing, like waking up at exactly 3 a.m. and journaling and writing down the connections with him. And ever since, it sort of reinvigorated my love of dreams. I went down a whole lucid dreaming attempt, which worked actually for a couple of months. And so I'm curious to hear what led you down the path of realizing that maybe there's more to our dreams than we give them credit for.
Do you have an hour? Oh, yeah, we do. Oh, God. It's kind of exactly like what you were just describing. There's the ordinary world that we typically live in that is full of bada bing, bada boom, getting things done. It makes logical sense. It's very rational and sometimes orderly, sometimes chaotic, but it's all very understandable to the part of us that likes to feel grounded in a particular kind of reality. And then our dreams are the part of us that doesn't give a hoot about any of that. It's the part of us that is, we could say it's non ordinary consciousness. There's a relationship. I just did a TED talk on this about the relationship between near death experiences, actually death itself, and like shamanistic experiences and psychedelic experiences and dreams. And they all take place with the temporal and parietal lobes. It's the same activity in the brain. So it's really, and researchers, if we're going to be really grounded about it, they say this is the doorway to our greatest potential. So wouldn't it be nice to be able to keep our feet on the ground, still be able to function and drive a car and do the ordinary things while simultaneously being aware that this ain't all there is. And we're connected to a world that is so much greater than this. And our problems, our challenges, they don't originate from here. They come from another realm. And our dreams are a daily, nightly navigation source for how we can maximize this time, just like your friend wanting to get a hold of a departed loved one, because there's nothing that hurts worse than when we lose somebody that we've relied on or that is an intrinsic part of our inner web. And if we can create a way to communicate with them, well, then that sort of defies all of those things that we can be so stressed out about our mortality and about where do people go when they die. And it adds this whole other perspective. So our dreams are a simple, relatively simple daily practice that we can do to be able to have more access to what is our inheritance. It belongs to us and it can make our lives enormously better if we pay attention.
A few powerful dream experiences, especially after my father died. But I find it interesting too that so many people have such different experiences with their dreams. I can think of a friend who had a hard time giving up weed because every time he did, his dreams got too crazy. I know somebody else who can't take
Right.
melatonin because their dreams get too crazy. I know some people who prefer not to dream because they feel like they're not rested when they wake up. I know many
Mm.
others where their dreams just don't make any sense. So finding wisdom in it, they can't even figure out the words to describe it once. And I've had many of kind of touches of all of those experiences. Why do you think they're so different for different people?
Oh, so there's certain dreaming tribes that believe we should live our daily lives such that we have the best possible dreams. So ideally, our dreams, because we don't typically value them, we we don't and if we don't typically value a lot of the things that are more subtle, but if we lived in such a way that our dreams were really important, and we wanted to make sure we got just the right amount of exercise, the right amount of food intake at the right time, not too late, not too early, and that we resolved the issues, the conflicts with our relationships, and we were kind of handling things as we went along, then our dreams would then be freed up to take us into really mystical, magical places, as opposed to simply doing the laundry. It's like we pile it up with so much laundry from so much data that we've accumulated by the day, and unresolved issues that we just push aside, push aside, push aside. Anything that we resist must persist. And often the place that that persistence shows up is our dreams, in the form of nightmares or things that are just chaotic. And it's really, they're trying so hard to help us. They're not trying to haunt us or hurt us. They're trying to help us make sense of the glut of data that we're dealing with in our day, and what we haven't yet processed. So yeah, we could unpack each of those things you brought up. I know a lot of people that don't want to stop smoking weed because the dreams they have are way too intense. Because weed, even though it's a wonderful medicine in many ways, it also sublimates, but then it also exacerbates. so it's kind of, I think I mean, some people might get mad at me for saying this, but with any substance, any psychedelic substance, I think we should treat as something that we do in a very special circumstance, not regularly, ideally. And because anything we do that is psychedelic in nature, it's kind of like it naturally puts us out of balance with ourselves, so that we can have this intense focus of wild thoughts and wild experiences. But then the pendulum has to swing back. Like, it's easier to see when people do ecstasy, for example, or even cocaine. They're like, oh my God, this is the most amazing thing. And then crash, boom, burn. And oh my God. And then their whole system is dysregulated. It takes a long time to reestablish that balance. So the goal is, I mean, it's like that with anything additional that we intake. So we want to be very careful with that. Eventually, we want to wean ourselves off of having to take any of those things regularly. Some people are going to get mad at me. Obviously, consult your doctor. Don't do anything I say without consulting your doctor. But I think that our body and our psychology and our spirit knows what balance looks like, and is trying to get us there. So we might have to deal with, I mean, I know, for example, I'll just get personal for a moment. My story sort of begins with great dreaming. When I was a little girl, I had a partner in shine, a partner in crime, however you want to put it. My sister, we used to have tandem dreaming experiences on the regular. And so we both were very attuned to our dreams. And as I became, went through junior high, high school, I was very attuned to my dreams. And that gave me this little psychic insight about what was going on in my relationships, my classes, the drama in school. Not that I was drama free by any means, but I had a sense of seeing around the corner ahead of time because of my dreams. But when I got into my early 20s, I went to Hollywood to pursue my dream of being an actress. And I stopped having time for those silly nighttime dreams when I was so focused on the outer dream and what everybody else's opinion of me was. It was all I could do to please and tap dance for everybody. So I stopped paying attention to dreams. I became like the world-class people pleaser. And at about 25 years old, I hit such a bottom that I didn't want to be on the planet anymore. Hollywood had kicked my ass, even though I'd worked with Forrest Whitaker and had some wonderful experiences. I was on ER. I got to work with Nicolas Cage. I had some fun experiences, but in between those were just pre-Me Too ass kicking to the max, so much so that I went into therapy because I wanted to die. I wanted to not be on the planet. And therapy allowed me to have a place to vent, and so that my dreams could start coming back to me. And they came back with fangs. They came back so chaotic, so terrifying, that I didn't want to pay attention to my dreams because they were so full of rage and running and hiding. And they were such drama. I remember telling my therapist about this, and she said, no, 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 no. You don't want to wish your dreams away. You want to work with these and treat your dreams like a nightmare is an unfinished dream. So it's up to you either in the dream, if you can do that lucidly, but most people can't, so don't worry about it. In your waking state, while you remember your dream, imagine you're the director of the dream and you could finish it the way that would give you power. And that changed everything. You know how sometimes you hear one word or one phrase or one quote and you're like, oh, struck by lightning, everything flips around. That was my moment. And that was when I began to court my dreams and seek to pay attention to them, even if they were horrifyingly, murderously, like even too much for TV these days, so like bloodbath after bloodbath. But I went towards them and with the intent that I was going to look for how I might fix it, how I might change it, even in my waking state. And that started to stitch together the broken pieces of my soul. And so much so that I went into hypnotherapy to learn more about the subconscious mind. And I became a hypnotherapist. And I've been doing that now for the last 30 years. And that led me to dream work. And now I'm doing a whole lot of past life regression because it all relates. But it brings me basically to you. And hopefully that sort of answers all of those questions in there. So
It
sort of.
does. And I had one of those moments while you were talking because
Oh,
I
wow.
have done what you just described before intuitively. I
Mm,
actually really
wow.
dislike if something happens and I'm woken out of a dream that I don't, and not all dreams are as vivid. Like sometimes I'm like,
Correct.
what was that dream? Like even right after I wake up, other times I'm like, oh my God, what was that dream? I know exactly where was I? And then I start to say it out loud. It doesn't make sense. But when I'm wake up and I'm still in that dream state and I can just go back to sleep, I remember one actually about my
Yeah.
my dog. And it was just the love of my life dog, that like soul
Oh, yeah.
dog that you have. I
I
had
have
that.
one curled up against my back as we
Yes.
speak.
Well, I had one from age 21 until a couple of years ago. And he was just with me in all of my most traumatic times and then getting my life back together and even like partying and being in the wrong situations. Uh, like looking back, I put that dog through a lot of things that not very good as a dog owner, but like he would, if I'd pass out somewhere, he'd stand on my body, this 5 pound dog, and like nearly attack anyone that came near, no matter how well he knew them. And so he was just the best. And we were so close. And anyways, after he died, I would have dreams about him. And if I'd wake up, I needed to finish the dream. Whatever was happening, it was like, or I would communicate with him in some way, and it was a dream. So laws of here did not apply. But yeah, and so I started to just try to finish my dreams in a more conscious state and like guide them. So it was really interesting when you said that because I wasn't necessarily understanding it had any power other than just I wasn't ready to let go of him in that moment.
Oh my God, no, it has so much there, and there's a ton of data on this. It's what you did naturally and intuitively, and what I was doing intuitively years before is now called imagery rehearsal therapy. I mean, it's something that you can do right after the dream or even before the dream, where you imagine where you want it to go. And they practice this at Harvard. There's all kinds of studies on imagery rehearsal therapy that relates to dreams. I just called it dream redirection or dream completion. It's like picking up the dream where it leaves off, but it actually does kind of stitch together some of the neural pathways, and it brings us into greater harmony. It's one of the smartest things we can do. And look at you, how smart you are, Melissa. You did that organically without anyone having to teach you.
Well, you talk about your means of dreamifesting, as you call it, bridging the gap between our dreams and our waking life. But some people don't see how their dreams even connect to their waking life. Like it's too out there. Like I've never been in war. I've never been in a house fire. So what does it take to then redirect it? Because I imagine getting up, asking ChatGPT the symbolism about this type of dream takes you right out of that alpha state. That's probably really good for continuing that dream redirection. So
Exactly.
what is exactly happening when the dream feels unrelated? Is it just that, oh, this was a turbulent dream, so you have a turbulent subconscious, or how do you see that?
So it's kind of just it's like our blind spots. It's like being able to see behind our back. It's hard to do it on our own. It's not impossible. It's absolutely possible, but it's hard. It helps when you've got somebody to work with. If you've got a dream buddy or a dream group or somebody like me that people bring their big dreams to so I can help them shine a light. But every time I want to say, I rarely say absolutes, but I'm going to go out on a limb and be absolute about this. There's never been a single dream that I've worked with, and there's been thousands at this point, that didn't start off kind of like, what the heck? Or that doesn't mean anything. That's not related to what's going on. By the time we end up shining some light on it, it absolutely makes perfect sense. It absolutely is like jaw droppingly brilliant, like something you would have never thought of. So it does make sense. It does eventually connect. It's just dreams speak the language of symbol, and it doesn't pander to our logic. So we have to kind of like climb the steps up to the attic of our mind to go to it to understand what it's trying to say, as opposed to saying, dreams, come down to my level, spell it out, make it clear. They're like, no, we don't roll that way. You come to us. And a friend of mine works with autistic kids. She's got an autistic son. And she says that it's so frustrating to be the parent of a child that you're trying to teach how to do the ordinary things. But when you realize the only way to communicate is to go to their level, is to find a way to get inside their reality. And once inside their reality, everything makes sense. And you realize not only are you now communicating with somebody that felt impossible to communicate with, but your own consciousness has elevated by doing that. So it behooves us to kind of shine some light on it. And so I've got this jet set dream interpretation formula that we can talk about that is a stopgap. If you're on your own and there's no one around except for ChatGPT, which is great, but I would say do ChatGPT after you go to yourself, after you've woken up from the dream, maybe spent some time in that liminal zone where you're continuing it or asking it questions or exploring it while you're still, I mean, that's the best thing to do. And then immediately journal your dream based on what you remember. And then you can journal it inside my jet set dream interpretation formula, and then go to ChatGPT. That's a great place to go. Or there's a great app that I've been using these days. It's free. It's incredible. It's called Temenos, Temenos. It's a Jungian app that is I've used every single dream app out there, and this is the best one I've found. And they've got a ton of integrity. They don't sell your dreams. It's great. So I would say do all of what you need to do yourself first, and then go to the apps.
I love that piece of advice because I think that's the biggest danger with AI. Well, unless we actually get to the robots taking over the world and killing us all. But before that, it's that brain rot that you're hearing a lot about, where we have a tendency to go straight for anything other than ourselves. And it happened with Google
Right.
Maps, for example. Like, how many of us are terrible at directions? Or I am the bad one who I really like. I try to be good at directions still, but sometimes I'm just
Mhm.
like, I just want to know what it's going to say the traffic is from here to 1.5 miles. And so I am guilty, but that tuning into yourself first, it's the only way to strengthen that muscle, strengthen the relationship with yourself, actually understand your own language. And we wonder why, oh, I don't have that inner guidance. Yes, you do. You just haven't been asking for it. it's
It's
like
just a flabby muscle. That's
it's
all.
like if you never walk in your whole life, doesn't mean you don't have legs. You just have not strengthened them. And
It's so
so
true. It's so true. This is why, it's to me it seems so simple, but it's actually a really important bridge. In Dreamifesting, the book that I have that's coming out in September, it's available for pre-order. I talk a lot about bridges as a symbol, and the fact that it's super important to be on this planet and also in the dream world and try to bridge everything. And the jet set dream interpretation is part of the scaffolding. It's part of the bridge to be able to connect us from here, where we are in the ordinary world, to the extraordinary realm of dreams. So shall I unravel that? Maybe, do you have a dream that you'd like to put through the jet set formula so it can land, maybe make a little more sense?
I'd have to scour through my journal. I actually have a journal that I was writing down dreams recently. Let's see. Start to tell, and I'm going to find this because I have it in my notes.
Sure. Okay, I'll start to tell. So the J is, I'm just going to go through it quickly and then I'll break it down. J is for just the facts, ma'am. Just write the dream exactly as it was, as you remembered it. The E is for the emotion or the energy. How did the dream make you feel? The T is for the title. Imagine your dream was a Hollywood blockbuster movie. What would you entitle it? The S is for the standout symbols and what they mean to you. And then the next E is for the embodiment. This is where we take dreams from the neck up, just being a mental activity, to being something that we feel on a somatic level. And then you actually embody one particular element of the dream or all the major aspects of the dream, depending on how much time you have, and maybe write yourself a letter from that point of view. And then the last T is the tangible. Now that you have all this information about the dream, often the final question is, what are you going to do about this? What are you going to do with it? How are you going to bring the plane in for a landing, pun intended, so that you can do something productive with that dream in your waking life?
Okay, so I found this dream that we're going to apply this to now.
Yay!
Yeah, and it's
Awesome,
funny that
let's
you
do it.
said that the app that you like actually uses Jungian psychology, because that's what I found actually gets better results when I'm using AI. Is asking it to use, and
Yeah.
so that's where I found this is use Jungian psychology and analyze my dream. So
sorry.
So use
That's my 11:11 alarm, by the way. It goes off every day just as like a moment to pause and remember that this is a dream.
Nice. So I said, use Jungian psychology and analyze my dream, and realize this dream is not going to make a lot of sense to the people listening.
At first, it's okay.
To them, but to you, and maybe we'll all unpack it. So I wrote, I think I made an excuse to people about missing school or work to visit my grandma and said she was sick. I was aware in my dream that I was lying. Then I took a nap in my dream, and I woke up and looked in the mirror and realized my eyebrows were gone. A woman in my dream had shaved them off. I spent the rest of the dream, seemingly hours, crying hysterically and trying to figure out how to get revenge and trying to make her realize what she did. I just remember saying, "Why would you do this? How could you do this?" And no one was paying any attention. So I started making threats. At one point, she said there were no pictures of my grandma for this week, like she caught me in the lie. And just ignoring the fact that I was pissed off that my eyebrows were gone. I was planning to get revenge and take her eyebrows, but I woke up. And I actually woke up with like tears in my eyes, like the little crusties, like I could tell I had been dreaming.
That is a fantastic dream, Melissa. Oh my God, I love this so much. Okay, well, let's do that. So you did the J and jet set perfectly. Just the facts, ma'am. Excellent. So now for the E, the emotion, you kind of touched on it, like the crying, the upset. But is there any emotions in here that you didn't acknowledge?
So I just remember in my dream, I felt like I was ruined, like eyebrows take forever to grow back. Do they even grow back the same? Like, I'm still suffering from when I overplucked them in the 90s. So what happens when you shave them off? And so, yeah, just that my whole visual structure was just different. I couldn't feel like the structure to my face. And so I felt devastated, like she'd stolen my beauty in a way.
Let me just ask you a little bit about that. So if your beauty gets stolen, what does that mean if your beauty has been stolen?
I'm not sure. I'm reminded of, I've had many dreams where like teeth fall out, and this wasn't that one, or like multiple rows of teeth growing in, and then just like, how do I hide this and look like everyone else? But the eyebrows are like, okay, that it's such an outer thing. Also, even in the like it protects your eyes. Like I remember just trying to, I spent most of the dream, like I said, seemingly hours, like trying to get somebody else to care.
Right. Wow. Okay. Well, I've got a million questions, but I'm going to stick with jet set just so we can teach people this. So, trying to get somebody to care. Oh, that's so good. Okay. So the emotions, we could say the feeling of being ruined and then trying to get somebody to care. And then even there was the element of maybe getting revenge on her, like shaving off her eyebrows, replacing yours with hers, or yeah, like,
I
and then
remember
also
wanting to so badly, actually, but then was, I remember having an internal knowing while I was basically screaming at people, realizing that these are empty threats. And I was like, okay, no one's even cares about my threats. And I don't understand, like, how am I gonna wait till she falls asleep and shave her eyebrows? Is that even gonna help? Like, I had a lot of internal conflict during this dream, but just like, it reminds me of when I yell at my kids sometimes. And I'm just like, I will do this. I will leave you on the side of the road. And it's just like, no, I
empty
won't.
threats. Right, right, right. That's it. Get out. Walk home on the freeway.
Yeah. Don't make me pull over. Don't make me tell
They're
Santa
like, pull
about
over,
this.
Mom.
Yeah.
What are you gonna
He's
do?
4. It's like nothing. We've never done any of the bad things. So I'm just like, what am I even saying? Where's this coming from? That was me in my dream.
Oh my God. Okay, that's excellent. And I would even say the stress about you didn't go to there was an exam that
No, I was saying,
you
I
oh, it was
was
an excuse to not go to work,
work or
right?
school or
Work
something.
or
I
school.
wasn't clear what that was even right when I woke
Okay,
up, but I lied and I said I had to
but
visit
you
my
lied.
grandma. And so there was
R-
that happening at the same time. And this person who stole my eyebrows was also like, we didn't see any photos of your grandma. Like, you've been caught. And everyone else
Right.
accepted that as real. And I was just like, but oh, still, why are my eyebrows gone? You took them? Was this your,
More
like, you were mad?
importantly, okay, yes, we've established I'm a liar, but more importantly, I don't look hot right now.
Yes.
That let's get our priorities straight. Okay, that's excellent. So now the T. What's the title of this if it were a movie?
Ooh.
First thing.
I don't know. If it were a movie, if it was a really bad movie. um, Brows Before Bros. I don't know.
That's actually really good. I would see that movie. Okay. That's great. Brows before bows. Okay, and the standout symbols, clearly the eyebrows. Um, and then this woman, but if from your perspective, what like just a few, we don't have to do all of them, but give me a few standout symbols to you, and then we'll unpack them. This woman,
Yeah, this woman who I didn't know who she was in my dream. So she
the
was just
eyebrow
some like
stealer,
random, yeah, brow villain. But
brow villain.
I
Ooh,
think
good.
what I remember the most, though, is it was like a version of those dreams where you can't cry, but I was able to cry. It's just like it didn't feel like an emotional release enough or something. Like I felt like I was very closed in. And so then I just kept trying to get louder. And like I said, it's like nobody was hearing me. And just like, why? This could happen to any of you. Do you like your eyebrows? Pay attention. It's like nobody was paying attention to me. And I just felt so frustrated. Those are the dreams that tend to stand out the most because I'm trying so hard to get something across and nobody's receiving it.
Okay. Okay, so that's not exactly a symbol, but that feels like it's an element, the trying to get somebody to pay attention and them not. So, yeah, this is more like an energetic, it's a dynamic.
It's like I'm in a
Um,
bubble or something. Like,
yeah,
yeah.
like being in a bubble. Okay, yeah, super frustrating. All right, so let's start with this one then. Is there any place in your life where that feels like that's happening, where you've got something to say that's important and you're not being heard or not being heard all the way, or like the sky is falling, and everyone's like, what's your problem? You
I mean,
know?
I think that happens quite a bit in my life. Well, I've changed my relationship to that idea, where I think there's periods of time when I when I go deep in new knowledge and it feels like, oh my gosh, everybody needs this. Uh,
Right.
I've done this in a lot of different phases of my life.
Mm.
Ironically, it happened when I first became vegan, but then it happened again when I became anti-vegan. I'm just pulling people on my ropes. Like, here's what I'm gonna do now.
Oops.
But I think
Switching
actually the
gears.
anti-vegan part, I was like, I'm not anti-vegan, like vegan people, but I realized it after 5 years, it did not work for me, and I was ignoring all of these symptoms. And anyways, so there's been a number of different things in that spirituality. And I think now maybe it's age, maybe it's this happening with enough things, maybe it's happening with a couple things where I then reverted my original thought I was saving people. And so now I'm just like, I feel pretty confident in my beliefs, and I don't feel the need to wake people up into whatever my ideologies are quite as much anymore. And that's also why that was interesting, because maybe there's a lot of frustration still in me, even though I'm not acting it out. I'm
Yeah.
like, I really want to wake people up with a number of things, but yeah, just
Yeah.
realizing we're all on our own path consciously. So maybe subconsciously, I'm not there yet.
Are we cutting out?
No.
Can you hear me? Am I still here?
Yep, you're here.
Okay. Okay. Sorry about that. It feels like it's the kind of like the Paul Revere kind of a thing. The British are coming, the British are coming, like being the town crier. It's your job to alert people to the fact that something's wrong. And there's all this energy, and some of them are sleeping, some of them are getting it, maybe some, but like, so it feels like there's something in that,
Yeah. Yeah.
having that role. And you're on the outside, you've come to some peace with it. Like, okay, it's not about me getting everybody else to do what I say, but it's an internal journey. But maybe there's still some unresolved energy. But really, people should just get the script. People, come on, get with the program.
Well, it actually, maybe there is a deeper theme here. Probably 15 times in the last 20 years, I have been like the one to sound the alarm, and then everybody else sort of realizing that there was something really awful going on here. Um, yeah, it happened with
Oh,
a friend's father, and everyone thought he was just like this genius and listened to everything that they said. And I was like, no, he's clearly on a lot of drugs. Why does nobody notice this? And he's like gaslighting everybody. And I was at their house for like 3 days and realized that. It took them another year to now he's like estranged. There's been things in different coaching containers. There's been a lot of things actually where um and multiple intuitives have called me, have like said on their own accord without knowing any of the stories that I'm the disruptor of illusions. So
the
this is a
destructor of illusions.
disruptor. Yeah. So this has
Disruptor.
been a theme in my life.
Okay. All right. So this is big. In human design, there's a line in the I Ching called the something like the focus on what has been spoiled. And it's in the creativity channel in the stream. So it's meant to create something. On its own, it just sounds like shut the hell up about what's wrong, like we can't do anything about it. But when we see the big picture, it's meant to create revolution. It's meant to create this like disruption that is needed and necessary. So, but in the short run, it's uncomfortable for the people that don't notice it or that are complacent. So yeah, that's an interesting role. But okay, so now let's talk about your eyebrows. Like, what if I was an alien and had no idea what eyebrows were because I didn't have any myself? Because most aliens don't have eyebrows. How would you describe, you kind of did, you said they're sort of, I mean, you talked about how they're part of like just describe eyebrows and what their function is.
You know, I've never thought too much about it, so I'm going to do it right now. So it's not like eyebrows have ever been some big part of my life. I definitely fill them in a little bit when I put makeup on. I I see them as kind of putting more structure to somebody's face.
Woo.
But
Okay.
then also, I mean, they have like there's functionality to them, keeping sweat out of your eyes when you're working out. But
Yeah.
yeah, I do feel like people look quite strange without eyebrows. I don't aim to go there.
Right. And it, So it feels so interesting that somebody would, I mean, to me, it's dream speak when it's bizarre or strange. And this is bizarre or strange. This is so not like if somebody was really going to call you out on something, that's not how they would do it. I mean, even like it'd be easier to just chop your hair or something like that. But eyebrows, it's interesting that eyebrows don't go back easily. So it's almost the way I'm just going to project here with you for a second, if I may.
Yeah.
It feels like it's kind of like a scarlet letter of sorts. Like it's you can't undo it. Once it's been kind of done, it's not easy to undo. Yes, you can pencil them in. Yes, you can take off that A, but it's something that is it's like permanent and it feels shameful. Like I'm being this is something I'm being like this person is doing this to shame me because I did something that's maybe out of alignment with my inner compass. Like I don't value lying. I mean, sometimes we have to do it every once in a while, but it's not like, oh my God, it would be awful to be caught in a lie like that. And it's not because it doesn't reflect, it's like my walk doesn't match my talk. And that feels shitty. At the beginning of my book, by the way, my book, A Crisis is a Terrible Thing to Waste, my whole book starts with a moment like that where I was called out by a reporter about having been a stripper in my early 20s. And I wanted to die because I had said, I'm an open book. Everything's, and I was like, no, I'm not an open book. You can't write about that. And what the hell? And oh my God, I'm going to die. And then I ended up, in order to wrap my arms around the part I was most ashamed of, I wrote a whole book about it so that it's like, if anybody's going to tell my secrets, I'm going to friggin' do it. And I'm going to do it my way. I don't want somebody else to take my story and like, so that meant I have to own it and be public about it. And there was something so healing about that schism. But I'm projecting my own kind of schism and being a public person when things get called out. I mean, we're kind of setting ourselves up in a way to have to walk our talk because when we don't, it will get noticed. And we don't, and we can't run around constantly trying to cover up all the holes. It's just easier to proceed with no shame in our game. So ultimately a dream like this, I feel like is a blessing because it's showing us where there's a little disconnect and where the work can happen on the inner planes so that it doesn't have to happen externally. Okay. So anything you want to say about that before I have my next question for you?
No, it does kind of make sense. It's like it starts out, and that starting out part is was such a blip in the dream because it's not where the focus was, but that's what started it. It's like I just lied about what I was doing to get out of something, and now I'm being called out for it. But then at the
Yes.
same time, I look different on the outside. And so there's got
Yes.
to be a connection there.
Yes, exactly. I talk about this a lot these days. I was really struck by Neil Donald Walsh, his I think it was the last in the trilogy of the Conversations with God. It was the third one, I believe, and he was talking about the highly evolved beings, the Hebs, Hebs, and he was saying that the difference between them and us is that they live in such a way that everything they do and say and even think, they would be willing for it to be broadcast on any billboard anywhere. Like my dog is gagging on that. She's like, no, can't we have some secrets? Oh God. Pearls. Oh baby. Okay. I'm gonna let you comment on that while while she clears this hairball. Hairball cleared.
Good. Yeah, I that is that is interesting. It's something that I've gone back and forth with quite a lot in my life because I share a lot compared to the average person. And so many people have asked me how do you share so much? And a big part of it is that it was how I healed. I remember realizing the first time I finally shared about having bulimia, it was right when I was starting to feel confident that I was actually healing from it. And the
Mhm.
one person, the very first person I told, her face went white and she was like, "Oh my gosh, I've been binging and purging lately. Like it just started." And I ended up helping her quite a bit through that relationship. And I remember just thinking, I'm meant to do this. Like, this is why all of this has happened. And so and then my story's crazy. Not a lot of people have gotten a felony for a crime they didn't commit. And that's what I've been unraveling in my book too, that I've been writing,
What?
just sharing
You
all of the stories. Yeah. And
wait, you were accused of a crime you didn't commit, a felony? I need to
yeah,
know.
my boyfriend at the time had a secret burglary ring and he was cheating on me with a sex worker that was also blonde, and he had my dog while I was trying to get away from him in Hawaii. It was a whole thing. And so it was something I carried
Melissa.
a
Oh my
lot of shame about for a long time. Um, but I would still just openly share it at parties sometimes, like as a shock factor. But I didn't realize I was doing that almost as an armor rather than bringing people in. And so when I started to rebuild my life, it was a very long process. It wasn't like, oh, now I'm going to fix myself. It was like one tiny decision at a time over the next 9 years. But there's still things in there during that time that I've shared with a couple people. I debated putting in my book. I had a chapter in there. And it's just certain things where it's like, do you really want our kids to know that? Especially just different sexual experiences. And on one hand, I do. And on the other hand, I'm like, "Oh, this could affect more than me." And so I've gone back and forth with several details of my life. Like I just had um, a really dark period of my life. And so if somebody asks
same.
me
Same,
in
same.
person, I would have no problem telling them. But then there's the questions of, do I put that in an Instagram reel or do I say it in my podcast? Like what's the level of being an open book that is healing versus self serving versus,
Mhm.
yeah. And I teach much of that in my programs, the things that I've learned through that. And so I do believe, at least that's where I've landed. Maybe you have a different idea, but I believe
Mhm.
that we can have a lot of power in sharing what we're comfortable with and still holding certain things sacred. And it doesn't necessarily make us less spiritual. But yeah, I think all of those things could be broadcast out there. And I don't think I would shrink in shame. I'd just be like, all right, I guess this is meant for us to talk about it now.
Wow, well, thank you for sharing that. I can't wait to read your book. Is it already out?
I just finished writing it and I got an agent. So we're pitching publishers right now. Thank you.
Congratulations. Well, that's gonna be amazing. Yeah, I agree with you that I mean, the process of working out, like, the shame stuff and with our own ego that wants us to have a veneer of perfection or societally acceptable, it's quite a tango. But it's I think we just have to follow our own instincts and our own guidance, and I'd say, leaning on the edge of what's a little uncomfortable and, like, exploring that edge with the aim, because a lot of from a dream perspective, a lot of dreams involve shame. There's often some kind of revealing, like you're standing on a stage and you look down and there's no clothes. You're like, what? There's like nudity or being caught in something, or there being police, or, I mean, and everyone in the dream, from my perspective, is an aspect of ourselves. So the person doing the eyebrow, butchering is an aspect of self that is like, no, I'm getting your attention this time. This can't happen anymore. Like we're done with this. I mean, any police or structure or judge or whatever, it's all our own. And I think it's when we're called to come out, when it feels better, it's like pain pushes until inspiration pulls. And it's like that Anais Nin quote that I need to memorize about the pain it takes to stay tight in the bud is more painful than what it is to emerge. She says it more poetically, but like at some point we do want to be revealed. I think the goal, like if we're going to just point at the North Star, it's like the evolution of our society, I believe, is when we can all be at least emotionally naked, when there is no shame in our game. And when I embrace all the parts of me that make me blush, that make me like cringe, the work is inside. And then once I've done that inside, I find that people like, it's so funny because I wrote a memoir about my most scathing, horrific year. I wrote a whole memoir, sent it, finally had the guts to send it to my agent. She was like, "Is that all? Like, you didn't kill anybody? There was no, you didn't even do heroin." I'm like, so now I'm being shamed for not having been bad enough. Okay. But there's something about like, it's not so bad. There's such a sex positive world we live in these days. Oh my God, what I did in the past is like small potatoes, whatever. But it's a process of coming to terms internally and then leaning on that edge and knowing that at some point in this world, things do come out. So we want to lean on that edge. And it's so funny, the freezing, I don't know if you can see, but there was a freezing on the screen and it took away your eyebrows for a second.
No.
And you are still beautiful. Okay, so let's just say that, okay, so if you were going to embody any part of this dream, I know this sounds weird, but let's just say you could embody either the woman, the brow burglar, or your brows themselves. Which, if you were going to pick one to kind of step inside of to embody, which would you pick?
Maybe the brows themselves, only because the woman in the dream, it's not like, I don't think she was the point. I was railing against her, but it's not like she had a personality. It's not like I can connect her with somebody. Like, she wasn't doing a lot of the talking because I was just freaking out, like, what the heck? And then just like, you lied. And it's just
Yeah.
like, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I don't
Okay.
think she was the point, is the point.
Okay. So this will sound like a fun, crazy exercise, but let's just, if you'd be willing,
Okay.
let me just invite you to take a breath and become Melissa's eyebrows. And when you're ready, I would love to ask you a couple questions. So let me know when you're ready.
I'm ready.
Okay. So, first of all, tell me about yourself. What is it like to be eyebrows?
We have a pretty good point of view, pretty good perspective up here. We've got a job to do. We need to keep the eyes dry so that they can see and not burn.
Mm-hmm.
We've had, I don't think Melissa realized how important we were until later on in life. And
Mm.
then for a period of time, she was just plucking away. There's a core memory that we have of sitting waiting for my cousin to come home, and she had one of those ultra bright, like magnified mirrors, and she was plucking us for the first time. And
Mm.
she just was trying to get that line right, but then every time she'd get it right, there was one more hair out of place, and then she stepped back and realized most of us were gone. They never quite grew back the same.
So there's the functional aspect of you keeping her eyes dry and or moist or the opposite or
Keeping sweat out.
keeping sweat out. Um, but there's also the balance, the beauty aspect. So how do you feel about having been shaven off?
We were just gone. We were sad to lose our place on the face. We, I think, I don't know, Melissa has enough insecurities with her face that taking away the structure of the top half kind of just left her with the crooked jaw she's always looked at.
So being gone, you feel like you left Melissa feeling vulnerable and feeling
This is
focused on
emotional.
what
I feel like I'm
it's
gonna cry.
thank you. Yeah, it is emotional in this world we live in that values beauty so much. To have something that does keep the frame kind of together, to lose there's quite like a vulnerability in that. So what is that touching in you, if you could say more about what you're feeling right now?
I think, yeah, they're just, I've not, I don't think I've always felt confident with my face. And
Mm.
I do sometimes from certain angles, but it's like that decade of looking at my Facebook photo albums and realizing every photo's from the same angle because that's the one I was comfortable with.
Mhm,
um,
mhm.
and I think I've moved beyond some things, or at least have a different relationship with it now that I'm just public and I'm speaking, and I feel like I have a value beyond that. But for like 10 years or maybe more, I'm thinking about my whole 20s. It's like that's what the value was being out, how I didn't really consider being chosen for anything outside of my looks for a very long period of time, which
Mm.
is what drove the eating disorder, what drove me to. I was supposed to get jaw surgery to fix my broken jaw. I ended up getting braces as an adult to shift my teeth to prepare for it, then found out that my insurance wasn't going to cover it a year in, and then I had to have braces to move them back to where they were. And just I remember somebody in high school, cheerleader, I'll just say her first name, Taylor, if you're listening, um spread spread it around school that I looked like I had a little bit of Down syndrome. So I was just always like, yeah, I was bullied pretty hard, middle school and high school, by different people. And so
Taylor.
it goes pretty deep.
Oh, sweet angel. Thank you so much. So much of this is connected to these eyebrows. It's not just about that. And PS on the side, you look so beautiful. I never noticed. I mean, you just look like a beautiful. No, I was just like, oh, here's a beautiful woman. Like easy peasy. Like, you know,
I feel like I hit my prime around 35. I feel I feel hotter than I used to. But I think,
but the
like I
world.
said, that's the attaching the value from the inside. I think I see myself and other people with a lot less criticism, whereas before I was filtering how I saw the world and myself through all the criticism I had received. Like, well, why can that person be accepted? I wasn't accepted. Wait, hold on. This isn't a good body that I was told it wasn't. Things like that. I was internally judgmental to other people because I was constantly comparing myself. Like, wait, I was called fat. Why is that girl considered hot? Things like that, just for years and years. And that was a big part of healing my eating disorder. It was actually the first, I couldn't actually look at myself and say kind things. I practiced it by walking by, and for about a year, every person that walked by, I would give them an internal or external compliment. I would either say something to them or at least compliment them inside. And it started to work its way to me eventually by practicing on other people.
Oh, that is so beautiful, that Melissa. That is so beautiful. What a gorgeous practice that we can all. I mean, I'm gonna take that and borrow that. And Pearl's gagging again. Um, but this world is. I mean, okay. I'm just gonna go off on this little tangent for a second. I was talking to someone the other day. We were talking about like this intense inner critic about like this perfectionism that I have and we all have in our whatever our own way is. And he was saying it makes sense. Oh my goodness. And Pearl, what's going on, Pearl? You don't like us having criticism about ourselves? Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I'm gonna have to let you keep talking for a second. Okay, she went rolling around in the weeds today, and I think she got some kind of a little thing in her throat. Okay, sorry, Mercury retrograde.
Just wait.
She'll be done in a second. Okay. Anyway, we were talking about how it wasn't that long ago that we were like living in like a caveman kind of society. And if back then, if we didn't toe the line, if we weren't exactly the way we were supposed to be to get the love, to get the food, to get the shelter, then we would be cast out. And it wouldn't be in a lovely, gentle way. It would be like cast out, tortured, beaten, like it. So, this intense, fierce, like, oh, I have like certain things have to be the way they're supposed to be. There's this feeling like our limbic brain still remembers like we might die is the association. So there's this like the clenching is so real, and we just have to, like, little by little remind ourselves, oh, we're not going to be killed or harmed if something happens, and we're not absolutely perfect if we age, if if something is not exactly the way, we're not exactly, I don't know, whatever the shape, the way, whatever the thing is that we judge ourselves by, there's we're living in a different time, but we can also have compassion for ourselves for having that part of us that still feels that way, and to not demonize ourselves for having that intense upset when and if something gets taken away. So many people dream about something happening with their hair, with their teeth, with their some aspect of their being that is like, if I don't have this, I won't get the love, and then I will die.
Yeah. And I think too, I've spoken with a lot of people who suffered with belonging, pain from lack of belonging, people who were bullied when they were young. I had it happen at several different phases of my life. Middle school, all of a sudden, this new cool girl, she just wanted to hate me. And so, no, I wouldn't be invited to the things my friends were. And it does, at that age, that is your tribe, that's your society. And so then you're cast out. You don't have any other options unless you are going to switch schools, totally start over, which often your parents
Yeah.
won't even let you. Happened again in high school. This time
Yeah.
was, I told a secret I shouldn't have told. Still regret it to this day. And I was then excommunicated from my group, and some friendships never really recovered after that. But I'm very sensitive to that feeling of unbelonging, I guess, and growing up an only child and moving around a lot. Just yeah, and so I think even if we're calling to this time in our history that we may not have actually lived through, I think as children, when we live through something like that, it is our whole world. It kind of emulates that.
It definitely It definitely is, and it's, I mean, it's brutal, and I have my own stuff from those years. I mean, I was horribly bullied, notes in my locker, I mean, calling me a whore, calling me a slut, never kissed a boy, never done anything, and so I'm like, you know, trying to wear all the clothes and do all the things, and trying to hit the mark, and even in, some people would say you hit the mark, but you hit it, and now you're a slut, now you're a whore, and now we're going to kill you, like death threats. So it's just it's brutal. Like, it's a brutal world we live in, and trying to make the grade is impossible. And in some ways, I think our dreams are helping to bring all of this up, not to torture us, but to, like, we can't heal what we can't feel. So it's bringing it up so that it can be moved out, so that it can be properly fleshed.
And so
So
with that dream, how would I work with a dream like that, for example? Like, um, kind of if I were to have known about your techniques or considered following through, redirecting that dream, do my eyebrows grow back? Do I stand up and say, I'm beautiful without eyebrows?
well, let's imagine. So now that we've done this, I mean, we haven't gotten to the last part, which is the what you're going to do in the waking world about it. But let's go back into the dream with all that we've just talked about, all of these layers of, all the things. And so now that you have this wisdom, and you're back in the dream at the point where your eyebrows, you wake up, and I mean, this woman took your eyebrows. What might you do differently in the dream to bring it to a place where you feel good about
I scroll on Amazon and find some stick-ons.
it? Yeah, that might be one thing. And you realize, oh,
Use
I
this
could
as
put
a
those stick-ons.
somehow have her pay for my micro needling.
Yeah, microneedling.
Or
Exactly. There's all kinds of things.
yeah,
And then there's, so there's some of the, like, practical things that you might do. And um I mean, we can do it in several different ways. It's kind of like pick your own ending. You know, I mean, if it were my dream, may I project a little
Yeah.
of how I, in one scenario, I might say, take them. And you know what? Yeah, I lied. Thank you for calling me out on it. I get that you're trying to contribute to me by bringing this to my attention in a way that I will never forget. Whatever it was, that whatever that disconnect between me wanting to do what I wanted to do and not wanting to pay the price of being honest, I'm going to work on that. So thank you, duly noted. I'm not going to shoot the messenger. I'm going to thank the messenger and send you away. And I'm going to also realize, wow, my eyebrows are gone, but I'm still here. It didn't kill me to not have my eyebrows. So that's interesting to know. I would have thought that if I didn't have eyebrows, I would just die. And maybe, take anything from me, but you can't take my spirit. So, hey, there's a kind of a liberation maybe in one scenario. And in another scenario, maybe I do get to figure out, maybe my eyebrows grow back because I received the message of the dream. Maybe they grow back and they grow back in just the way I want them to. And but so I have a yes, and I get to have the message that I got from the dream, and I also get to have my eyebrows.
Ooh,
I,
and the
yeah,
moment my eyebrows grow back, I glance in the mirror and I can see her just having fallen asleep with a razor next to her face. And I get revenge on the brow villain. No.
there you go. Get it out of your system. Like, do that. There you go. Boom to boom, boom. How do you like it now? And then she wakes up and says, but I'm a part of you. So you just got
You
your
took your
eyebrows
eyebrows
taken
back.
twice. Both eyebrows belonged to you. So how you feel now? Okay. But it's good to play out the like, I just want to have this revenge. I just want this experience. Like, so give it to yourself. Scratch that itch. And then is there another one? Like what's the best possible version of how this dream could go would be what?
I think that they grow back, but maybe that I never cared in the first place. Like I could see my own inherent beauty in the mirror. And in doing that, my face glows, my jaw shifts into place, and my eyebrows grow back. But I
Damn.
like how you said to kind of follow all the threads, because what I'm reminded of is, in my belief, we're all aspects of God having a unique experience, which is why it makes no sense to judge someone else's experience, because that path is needed. Otherwise, somebody else has to follow that path of that big mistake or that belief system, because all of them need to be accounted for. And so when we're playing with our own dreams, we are that one consciousness. And so yeah, see what it feels like to be the one that gets revenge. It probably doesn't feel as good as you think it's going to feel. Or here's the one that discovers her beauty. Here's the one that still doesn't see it. Like, we need to understand all of them to understand wholeness and the totality of it all.
Absolutely. Scratch all the itches. I mean, that's why we could take a dream that starts off seeming so random and like this makes no sense. I'm just going to toss it. And now it's like, how are you feeling about your dream now?
It does feel less random, more meaningful. Uh, yeah, just even when something's able to drudge up emotions, which isn't that hard with me, but I'm like, oh, there was something there for me. Something needed to be released. So, like, that's not happening now. Why is it stirring something up? So I'm always grateful for things that just evoke a little bit of tears, because I'm like, oh well, then there's still more in there.
Yeah, it touches something. And
Yeah,
that it's like the tears are sort of a telltale sign that something is shifting. There's some alchemy taking place. And
yeah.
that's quite a blessing. Because when you do it, especially doing it out loud, I mean, most people do it, behind closed doors or do it with me. But like, I'm sure this is touching your listeners as well, or viewers, or both.
Well, thank you so much for everything that you've brought to this kind of understanding how to unravel our dreams. But I know that there's one more step of actually calling in a new reality. Is that just at the tail end of an existing dream, or do you also work with your dreams before you go into the dream state?
Well, let me just ask you this. So, with regards to the last bit of jet set, the T is for the tangible. Is there anything tangible that you might do today or in the next coming days to honor the wisdom of this dream that
Mm.
you've just worked with?
I think overall, just after this conversation, it's a reminder that our dreams hold a lot of power. It is an aspect of the subconscious, and we spend so much time there. My husband and I have brought this up multiple times in our conversations, where it's just so interesting how people are just like, oh, just a dream. They just pass it off. It doesn't feel like there's a lot of people taking them seriously when we're spending, yeah, like a third of our lives in a dream state. Whether you're remembering them or not, studies show that there is activity happening. There's uh, something to be remembered, even if you feel as though you can't. And so it's just sort of resparked my interest
Mm.
in that. Maybe I will go back to my lucid dreaming rituals to try to just set that intention that, tonight is going to be something that I work with. Even intentions, prayers beforehand. We don't take that time seriously. A lot of us end up scrolling. I try to be pretty intentional there, but um, it depends on my mood. Every now and then I'll rebel, and I'm like, and 2 nights ago was one of those where I was like, I just want to watch this documentary until I fall asleep. And it wasn't my
Yeah.
most restful sleep. It wasn't full of dreams that night, but still. So yeah, just maybe setting more intentions and to work with my dreams and to, I don't know, give a little love to my face every now and then, which I like my face now, but
Yeah.
but
It's
we've had a
so
we've had a journey getting here.
Oh, it's such a beautiful face. I'm so glad that I'm getting to see your face. I mean, you're just glowing. You're beautiful, and every part of you is gorgeous. And I love the even I look for wordplay in dreams, and one way of playing with the words eyebrow is kind of it sounds a little bit like highbrow. Like there's something, and I like that you said that when you were being the eyebrows, you're above the eyes, above the I. Like sometimes the wordplay with I is just like it's the I, it's who I am, it's my identity. And so there's this like, I'm above that. I'm above the ordinary identity. And I can see something beyond that scope. So maybe as a tangible step is I'll notice when I look in the mirror next time, or next time I even pluck an eyebrow, I'm going to be like, oh, thank you so much. It'll be a reminder of my beauty and and how much I do care about what I do have, and to make sure that to be willing to take that, what do they say, it's a teaspoon of discomfort, a teaspoon of cure medicine over a pound of cure, or whatever that is. Like instead of saying the little white lie, be willing to just say, hey, I don't feel like coming to this party, um period. And having people go, what a bitch. But it's truthful. It's like, and we can figure out how to say what we mean without having to say it mean. And that's kind of also a stopgap. Okay. Anyway, that's all the wrapping around. But what to do, like the dreamifesting idea, it does start before we go to sleep. And the idea is to identify an area of our lives that we want to work on, and it could be something that's emotional, it could be something that's external, it could be um we want the hot new Ferrari, we want to lose weight, we want better relationships if we're having a conflict with somebody in our lives, whatever that is, we want some kind of movement made on this aspect. And then so I call that the ego goal, which is like the low hanging fruit of what we want. And then I invite people to just do a simple exercise, which is like imagine that you already have that red Ferrari, or that new job, or that hot guy, or that hot body, whatever that is. And how would that make you feel if you had that already? And often people will say relieved, I'll feel accomplished, I'll feel proud of myself, I'll feel like, wow, I'll feel excited. And then you go one level deeper. And then what does that give you license to feel? And often what's at the bottom of it is, I'll feel more at liberty to just love. I'll be able to be free enough to just love. So, however you want to articulate that is. So, that's the soul goal component to the ego goal. And you want to create or bring in some little touchstone that you can put on your nightstand that reflects these. So it could be like a picture of the car, it could be a picture of what you imagine your body would look like, whatever that is, but something from nature that represents the love or the connectedness, the peace, the ease. So it could be one symbol that you put on your nightstand, or it could be two, depending on you. Before you go to sleep, you touch that thing, that physical object, and you hold it to your heart and you just invite your dreams to help you have a greater understanding of how to move forward in this thing via your dreams. You give thanks in advance, and then you dream and you just let go. And then you pay attention to your dreams in the morning, whatever the dream was. And in looking at it and in putting it through the jet set formula, you have this context of this dream is helping me to answer the question I posed before I went to sleep. It's giving me what I asked for before falling asleep. It's either showing me what I need to let go of or heal, or it's showing me what I need to access more of and bring in so that I can be a more energetic match to what I'm calling the life of my dreams. That's the basic idea.
I love that. Like I said, I'm reinvigorated. It's just so interesting
Me too.
bringing intention to your life. It's like there's just so many areas to bring the intention to, but it's beautiful because I think you start to realize how much opportunity was always there. And you go from, I mean, how many people are living primarily on autopilot, just doing what they've always done, thinking they're making decisions, but it's really just their patterns playing out in the way they always have. And I think that's what's beautiful about self-development is you start to get glimpses that you have a little more power than you think you do. But then there's the realization of, oh my gosh, it's too much. The morning routine, the dream routine, the afternoon, the this thoughts, like there's opportunity in every single second
For
and
sure.
every single layer of that second. And so for those listening, follow what's most exciting because you can pluck things away your entire
No
existence.
pun
You know,
intended.
I'm still finding that was an accidental play on
That
words
was
there.
good.
I've literally, I don't think this is the first episode I've said pluck out of 550 episodes, and it just happened to be this one. And so, yeah, but that's even how it works. You bring intention to one thing, and your subconscious meets you right there.
It's so true. It's so true because even just like the idea of transformation, we can think of it like it's a big giant brick wall. And we look at it and we go, "Oh my God, that's so overwhelming. How am I going to bring that wall down so that I can be more free, I can be more me?" We really need to do is just take out one or two bricks from the middle, and then the whole thing will collapse in on itself. It doesn't have to be daunting. And yes, there's all these routines, the morning routine, the night routine, the afternoon routine, the checking in between routine. We can get so overwhelmed. And you're right, just pick a few things that really resonate and do those couple of things. To me, dream work is so great because it goes so deep, and it's something that we have a fresh way of doing it every day. We have fresh material. It never gets boring. It's never the same old thing. And we really only need a few minutes. I mean, like the setting the intention before we go to sleep, that is like just holding something. I mean, it's less than a minute, a breath, a thought, and then go into dreamland. Let those thoughts be the last things you think before you go to sleep. And then when you wake up, it takes a few minutes to write it down and a few minutes to put it through jet set. So I'd say 5 to 10, maybe if you want to do more journaling after that, 15 minutes, but you don't have to do all that. Even if you just do 5 minutes, studies show that that's enough to enhance your intuition, to give you greater sense of confidence in your life because it's like you're in relationship with the universe. It gives you this sense of navigational prowess, more of an ability to know how to make decisions because you've got something new. You're not just thinking the same thoughts, the same recycled thoughts that you've been thinking yesterday and the day before that got you into this mess. You've got some new little piece that's going to give you a new frame, that's going to open things up. I mean, literally, just the thought about the eyebrows being gone and now appreciating them because they're here. There's something that's going to open a little doorway. It's like one little shift is all you need. to have the whole ship turn around. Like Buckminster Fuller talked about the trim tab on a ship, the tiniest little piece of gear. It's what turns the entire ship around. So, yeah, it can be simple.
Well, I could probably unload 9 more dreams on you and talk for a few more
Let's do
hours,
it
but
on a parallel plane. Let's do it, Melissa.
for listeners that are interested in your new book and how else to work with you, where's the best place for them to connect?
They can go to my website. Actually, Dreamifesting is the best website these days because it's got everything connected to the new book, Dreamifesting. And there's so Dream, DREAM, and then and then I was going to say brow, but no, Dream IFESTING, dreamifesting.com. And that'll take you to the place where you can pre-order the book, and then you get some prizes and some gifts from me. You get a nighttime dream time meditation from me, along with several other gifts that valued at about $100. That's part of the pre-order campaign. And then on the day of the launch, which is September 30th, I've got additional bonus gifts that will value over $1,000. So you might want 2 books. You'll buy one now, buy one then, and you'll get all kinds of access to things that will help you live more in sync with your dreams so that you can expedite the process of getting from here to where you want to be with grace and ease and integration and a lot more joy, a lot more appreciation, and a lot less drama. That's my goal. Dreamifesting's the book.